Did Disney just pull off the most epic trolling in the history of the world? Have they created a film that is being praised by feminists as a pro-feminine and pro-girl power film, while at the same time having the most masculine protagonist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Unlike the actress who plays Captain Marvel has absolutely no traits that could be considered feminine. Brie Larson, on the other hand, like most actresses in Hollywood, is a caricature of feminine qualities. Some of these stereotypical features are long hair, ample makeup, shaved legs, and wearing high heels. And Brie Larson also enjoys plunging necklines. Captain Marvel does have the same hair as Brie Larson, but does not share the ample usage of makeup, the plunging V necklines, the display of bare legs, and wearing of high heels. Wikipedia is a left-leaning source of information. What does Wikipedia have to say about femininity, and can we find any of Wikipedia's femininity qualities in Captain Marvel? Femininity, also called girlishness, womanliness, or womanhood, is a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles generally associated with girls and women. Femininity is socially constructed, but made up of both socially defined and biologically created factors. This makes it distinct from the definition of the biological female sex, as both males and females can exhibit feminine traits. Traits traditionally cited as feminine include gentleness, empathy, and sensitivity, though traits associated with femininity vary depending on location and context, and are influenced by a variety of social and cultural factors. This article also has the feminist views on femininity. Many second-wave feminists reject what they regard as constricting standards of female beauty, created for the subordination and objectifying of women and self-perpetuated by reproductive competition and women's own aesthetics. Others, such as lipstick feminists and some other third-wave feminists, argue that feminism shouldn't devalue feminine culture and identity, and that symbols of feminine identity such as makeup, suggestive clothing, and having a sexual allure can be valid and empowering personal choices for both sexes. And this article also has a section on trans feminism. Serrano notes that some behaviors, such as frequent smiling or avoiding eye contact with strangers, are considered feminine because they are practiced disproportionately by women and likely have resulted from women's attempts to negotiate through a world which is sometimes hostile to them. Serrano argues that because contemporary culture is sexist, it assigns negative connotations to, or trivializes, behaviors understood to be feminine, such as gossiping, behaving emotionally, or decorating. It also recasts and reimagines femininity through a male heterosexual lens. For example, interpreting women's empathy and altruism as husband and child focused rather than globally focused, and interpreting women's interest in aesthetics as intended solely to entice or attract men. Instead of looking at Wikipedia's definition of masculinity, we'll go one step beyond that and look at its definition of toxic masculinity. Connell argues that an important feature of hegemonic masculinity is the use of toxic practices such as physical violence, which may serve to reinforce men's dominance over women. Other scholars have used the term toxic masculinity to refer to stereotypically masculine gender roles that restrict the kinds of emotions allowable for boys and men to express, including social expectations that men seek to be dominant, the alpha male, and limit their emotional range primarily to expressions of anger. Toxic masculine norms are a feature of life for men in American prisons, where they are reflected in the behavior of both staff and inmates. The qualities of extreme self-reliance, domination of other men through violence, and avoiding the appearance of either femininity or weakness comprise an unspoken code amongst prisoners. Suppressing vulnerable emotions is often adopted in order to successfully cope with the harsh conditions of prison life, defined by punishment, social isolation, and aggression. Men who adhere to traditionally masculine cultural norms such as risk-taking, violence, dominance, primacy of work, need for emotional control, desire to win, and pursuit of social status tend to be more likely to experience psychological problems such as depression, stress, body image problems, substance abuse, and poor social functioning. So after removing the decorating and the social status traits, we're left with 10 traits from Wikipedia that describe femininity and 10 traits from Wikipedia that describe toxic masculinity. At no point in the film does Captain Marvel display gentleness, empathy, or sensitivity. Captain Marvel does have makeup on, the same amount of makeup that Jude Law's character has on, and less makeup than the Samuel Jackson character has on. So there is no excessive makeup or feminine makeup, just general makeup that's required for actors to wear. The actual character itself is not wearing any makeup. Captain Marvel wears the military uniform from the Kree, which is identical for both males and females. Captain Marvel also wears a flight suit for an F-15, which is identical for both males and females. And Captain Marvel also wears a t-shirt, jeans, and flannel jacket that was stolen from a mannequin. At no time does Captain Marvel wear any item of clothing that could be described as feminine. And Captain Marvel shows no sexual attractiveness towards any other character in the movie, and nor does any other character in the movie show any sexual desire towards Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel does smile on occasion, but definitely does not do any frequent smiling. And Captain Marvel also holds eye contact with everybody. There is no avoidance of eye contact. Captain Marvel participates in some communication between Nick Fury and with Jude Law's character, but it could not be described as gossiping. Captain Marvel either suppresses all emotions outwardly or has no emotions other than anger. And so the only trait that could be linked to femininity that Captain Marvel displays is smiling, but not frequent smiling, very infrequent smiling. On the toxic masculinity side, Captain Marvel is frequently physically violent with most people in the film. Captain Marvel displays dominance over every single other person in the film, and Captain Marvel is aggressive to nearly every other person in the film. Captain Marvel's emotions are restricted at all times except for the emotion of anger, which is on constant display, mostly during the times when there is dominance, physical violence, or aggression. Captain Marvel is very self-reliant throughout the film and is reluctant to accept the help from anyone else. All feminine traits are constantly hid or are non-existent for Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel doesn't appear to have any friends from the Kree, although there is a mentor character in Jude Law, and Captain Marvel does have one friend from their past. And so socially isolated is a very good description for Captain Marvel. On the surface, Captain Marvel appears to be a very large risk taker, but because Captain Marvel is invulnerable, there is very little risk to the activities that would be dangerous to nearly everybody else, and so their behavior looks very risk-taking, but there is very little risk involved. And lastly, Captain Marvel displays a desire to win at all times. Captain Marvel displays no ethical concerns with collateral damage towards private property and sentient beings' lives. One argument in favour of Captain Marvel being a pro-feminist or pro-girl power movie is that Captain Marvel defeats the evil white male Jude Law, thus smashing the patriarchy. This, however, is 100% false. Jude Law is not the antagonist in this film. Jude Law plays Captain Marvel's mentor and is the closest thing that Captain Marvel has to a friend. The antagonist of the film is Annette Bening, who plays the supreme intelligence of the Kree. And the climax of the film is when there is a battle of wills between Captain Marvel and the female Supreme Intelligence. The Supreme Intelligence keeps Captain Marvel's full powers shackled, and only when Captain Marvel fully embraces toxic masculinity, and specifically anger and rage, are Captain Marvel's powers fully unlocked. This is the climax of the film. Anger defeats the matriarchy. But wait. Isn't Captain Marvel referred to as a girl? Doesn't this prove that Captain Marvel is a female and that this is a pro-female power film because Captain Marvel wins in the end? Well, not exactly. Captain Marvel is never referred to as a girl during the 1995 timeline of the film. Captain Marvel is only referred to as a girl during flashbacks where Captain Marvel is trying to play baseball, drive a go-kart, or fly an F-15. being called a girl in these contexts can be interpreted in one of two ways. The first, that boys will call another boy a girl as a general insult, and men will also call other men a girl as a general insult, and thus Captain Marvel being called a girl in no way means that Captain Marvel was a girl or a female. Captain Marvel may very well have been a boy or a man. The second interpretation of Captain Marvel being called a girl is that Captain Marvel was a girl, but Captain Marvel removed all feminine traits in order to succeed. And only when Captain Marvel became masculine and even embraced toxic masculinity was Captain Marvel able to prevail against everybody. Thus, the underlying message of Captain Marvel, the film that social justice warriors love to defend, is that toxic masculinity is superior to femininity in every single way, and the only way you can achieve anything is to embrace toxic masculinity. And what does the crowd have to say about whether Captain Marvel appeals to the masculine or to the feminine? Well, the Motion Picture Association of America has male and female viewing audience statistics for the top 5 box office films for each year. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has a 56% male audience. Avengers Age of Ultron had 58%, Captain America the Winter Soldier had 58%, and Guardians of the Galaxy, the original one, had 59%. And so over time, it looks like the MCU audience has very slowly become slightly less male-dominated. Wonder Woman had only 48% males in the audience, as opposed to 52% females. And so if Captain Marvel is a female-orientated film, it is a feminist film and a pro-girl power film, we should see an audience makeup closer to that of Wonder Woman than that of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Post-Track released this statement on the male and female audience percentages for Captain Marvel. At this point tonight, on International Women's Day, Captain Marvel continues to remain male-heavy, 61% to 39%. And so the audience of Captain Marvel is more male-orientated than any film I could find on the MPAA statistics. Star Wars The Last Jedi had the most male-dominated film I could find with 60%. Captain Marvel is on 61%. It is appealing to males. The masculinity and the toxic masculinity in Captain Marvel is turning off the female audience. Only 39% of the Captain Marvel audience so far were females. And the piece de resistance of the Disney trolling is Goose the Cat. The cat is a sexist trope making fun of feminist white cat ladies. You could make an argument that Captain Marvel really is a female and really is feminine if Captain Marvel likes the cat. However, Nick Fury is the character who likes the cat, and Nick Fury is the most feminine character in the whole movie. Captain Marvel displays complete disdain towards Nick Fury's affection of the cat. And you could describe Captain Marvel's attitude towards the cat and Nick Fury as being a misogynistic microaggression, thus reinforcing Captain Marvel's embrace of toxic masculinity. So well done, Disney, with the trolling. This may be the future for creating toxic masculine films. To get it under the SJW radar, you put the appearance of a female in the lead role and then have that character act more masculine than masculine. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.